Hello, my name is Stephanie Guerra, and in this talk I'm going to present one component of my research, which is focused on behavioral thermoregulatory strategies of mountain lizards from the Andes of Ecuador. The tropical Andes region, a global biodiversity hotspot located at the northwestern edge of South America, features exceptional levels of endemism and is considered the most biologically diverse of all the hotspots. The extraordinary biodiversity in this hotspot is hypothesized to be the result of a series of geological uplift events that formed isolated ecosystems that promoted local adaptation and speciation to unique climate conditions. Lizards of the genus Stenocercus, one of the most ecologically diverse group of South American reptiles, exhibit high diversification rates in the tropical Andes region, particularly in Ecuadorian montane ecosystems. Due to their limited dispersal capacity and high sensitivity to temperature fluctuations, Stenocercus lizards serve as ideal models for studying how thermoregulatory behaviors help prevent restrictions of activity of tropical montane species. Therefore, the overall aim of this study is to conduct field-based observations of adult Stenocercus lizards across high-altitude ecosystems in the Andes of Ecuador to understand the relevance of behavioral thermoregulation and microhabitat use in response to temperature fluctuations in tropical montane ecosystems. I hypothesized that tropical Andean ecosystems offer diverse thermal microhabitats, allowing lizards to behaviorally thermoregulate and avoid restrictions of activity in their habitats. For this talk, I will particularly focus on how do tropical montane lizards vary their posture, exposure, and microhabitat use to maintain their body temperature within their optimal range. For this end, 3 high-altitude ecosystems where 6 Stenocercus species inhabit were sampled. The upper montane paramo included 3 sites located on an elevation range between 3,500 and 4,000 meters above sea level. They are characterized by landscape dominated by grasslands and shrublands adapted to daily temperatures that fluctuate between 5 and 20 degrees Celsius, and 3 Stenocercus species inhabit this ecosystem. The high evergreen shrublands ecosystem include 2 sites that occur in an elevation range between 2,000 and 3,000 meters above sea level. This ecosystem can be found in island-like formations caused by the conversion of adjacent forest into grassy lands and croplands. They cover an extensive variety of vegetation types from woody plant species to epiphytes, and the daily temperature fluctuates between 10 and 20 degrees Celsius. 2 Stenocercus species inhabit this ecosystem. Finally, the 2 lowest sites assessed were located between 2,000 and 2,500 meters above sea level. They belong to the interandean scrubs, which are dominated by low-stature trees and spiny plants adapted to long dry seasons. These sites exhibit the highest daily temperatures, reaching over 30 degrees Celsius during midday. 2 Stenocercus species inhabit this type of ecosystem. In each of the study sites, 3 non-overlapping grids showing typical vegetation and numerous microhabitats where lizards could freely move were delimited. Scan sampling observations were conducted over 3 days at each grid, from 8 to 5, and climate variables were measured every 15 minutes. When a lizard was spot basking, its posture and exposure were recorded. Posture 1 was recorded when the lizard's chest and abdomen were pressed against the substrate, whereas posture 2 was recorded when lizard's chest was raised and the abdomen pressed against the substrate. Its exposure was also recorded, whether it was exposed to full sun, sun filtered through the vegetation, or full shade. Our findings show that substrate and air temperature influence the probability of basking of these lizards. For instance, their probability of basking increases when both air and substrate temperatures reach temperatures between 25 and 30 degrees Celsius. Density plot like this will be used to explain more of our results. When basking, adult lizards change their posture accordingly to substrate and air temperature conditions. At lower substrate and air temperature, posture 1 increases its probability to occur. However, at higher air and substrate temperature, lizards change their posture by extending their front limbs to cool down their body temperature. By comparing Stenocercus populations across studied ecosystem types, it is evident that tropical montane lizards adjust their posture according to temperature conditions in their habitats. For interandean scrubs populations, the variation in posture density is more pronounced than upper montane paramo and high evergreen shrublands. This suggests that interandean lizards rely on posture changes to efficiently regulate their body temperature in response to environmental conditions. Moreover, lizard exposure also varies according to substrate and air temperature. Lizards are exposed to full sun when both air and substrate temperatures range between 20 and 30 degrees Celsius. However, in upper montane paramo ecosystems, lizards are exposed to full sun when substrate temperatures are higher than air temperatures, suggesting that the high radiation in these ecosystems allows substrate to remain warm even when air temperature is cool. As both air and substrate temperature rise, lizards seek refuges in vegetation, with extremely hot conditions eventually confining them to shaded areas. The case of the interandean lizards is particularly concerning because they exhibit lower physiological thermal tolerance and high temperatures at certain times of the day restrict their activity in their habitats. Putting forward this case, interandean lizards are exposed to full sun at early morning and late afternoon, when they bask using posture 1 and 2 in equal proportions. When the day gets warmer, these lizards bask mostly on posture 2, in areas where the sun is filtered through the vegetation. During the middle of the day, their habitats reach the highest temperature, which constrain them to basking in posture 2 in shaded exposed places. Considering the microhabitats available for interandean lizards, we can see that ground and plant substrates are the most used, being plants the most relevant to use on hot temperatures as they provide shade. In conclusion, tropical Andean lizards respond to temperature fluctuations in their habitats by using different posture, exposures, and microhabitats. However, land clearing and the frequent fires occurring in Ecuador and all around tropical Andes represent the biggest threat for tropical montane species that use vegetation to behaviorally thermoregulate. I would like to thank my supervisors, Dr. Richard Peters and Dr. Juan Manuel Guayasamín, my field assistants and collaborators. I would also like to all up by saying that I will finish my postgraduate studies by the end of this year, and I'm very keen on discussing projects and get involved in new ones in the near future. Thank you.